There's this one day of your life where the pain of playing too small is growing too big inside of you. And then there's this volcano that wants to blast out. If people would know when the expiration date is really occurring, they would live completely different. If people would know when there's the game over time and when they have this moment to look back on their life to finally realize that everything that happened to them was not against them, but everything was for them, that the universe has a greater master plan implanted in every human being on earth. But they're not allowed to say anything anymore because it was their last breath. What he hasn't said that I wasn't only kicked out of 5 different schools, I was also kicked out of kindergarten. And when I got kicked out of kindergarten, I was at home with my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was a very, very clever, wise, old woman. And she always said things that were so clever and wise. For example, she said, if the right people with the right energy at the right time come together at the right place, miracles are possible. And my first question to you this afternoon, or everybody who is joining online, is, where are these people? Here. Because while other people at this moment, while we are talking and having this conversation, are watching YouTube videos where cats walk inside a door and out, or any TikTok things, you are working on yourself. And where is this place? Where is this place we're talking about? It's here. And where is this energy? And so it's in Mindvalley, yes or yes? So you are already with the right people at the right place with the right energy. So the only thing that is missing is that we have to think about that many other people are different than you are. And the first step in personal development is realizing that you are different than the masses. Because the masses at the moment, it's a weekend at the moment, they're numbing their pain with alcohol and trying to get happy. But that doesn't work. So they're mixing 2 words, which is happiness and joy. So it's very joyful to dance, it's very joyful to drink alcohol, but that's not happiness. Because happiness comes from inside out, yes or yes? So when we understand that, it's very important to me with this audience today, as you're very far already with your connection to your inner world and with spirituality, that we are not here today at this event to wake up any sheep. We're here to inspire the lioness and the lion in you, to make a step that it's not liked by everybody, that maybe your family will not like, that maybe people in your surrounding will not like, but it's going to be the truth, because you will be standing up as one of maybe 1,000, changing the world for everybody else, having the light, but not blinding other people, but more giving light to others. And that is my personal introduction to personal development, is that when you come into a room, you bring the light, and people who are in the darkness of their life are feeling this light. And once you leave, they see it's not your light, it's their light all along. You were only in their presence. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? So it's not about you. And it's also not about me, because I'm just a student just like you. And I would like to give you a story today, because I have figured out in my life that when my emotions go up, my intelligence goes down massively. How many of you had that happen over the last years when you watch too many news? Your emotions go up, your intelligence goes down immediately. I would like to tell you a story about that when I worked for a big airline as a flight attendant. And I didn't tell you one story about my grandmother, which is important for you to understand to get this story for real. My grandmother was the biggest fan of the Dalai Lama. I would call her a groupie. At this moment, she was reading everything about the Dalai Lama. She was quoting the Dalai Lama. When I was 3 years old, she said, "Oh, you know what the Dalai Lama said?" I didn't even know who the Dalai Lama is when I'm 3 years old. And she said, the Dalai Lama said, if your body is without pain and your head without confusion, you have a wonderful day, my little grandson. I didn't get that. She said, the Dalai Lama said, once when you get older, you will have a job, you will work for money. But the Dalai Lama said, work is love made visible. That's a good one, is it? Yes or yes? Work is love made visible. So I'm standing as a flight attendant 6 years ago with my uniform at 4 a.m. in the morning. That's not my time at all. In front of an elevator, being all tired, having my Lufthansa uniform on, having my luggage. I'm pressing the elevator button. The elevator opens 4 a.m. in the morning. And what do I see? I see two people dressed like men in black with sunglasses. I didn't get that. My brain was still half asleep. They were very big men. They looked like bodyguards. They were just standing there in the elevator. I switched on my Lufthansa 4 a.m. in the morning flight attendant smile. And I looked at them. And I didn't know what's happening. And they didn't move. And then someone with a hand was touching the right shoulder of the guy right in front of me. And they made way. So I'm walking inside of the elevator. And who you think and guess was in that elevator? The freaking Dalai Lama. So I am with my Lufthansa uniform with the Dalai Lama in an elevator. And I have 4 stories, 4 levels to go. It's 4 to ground. There were so many things I could have asked him. My emotions went up. My intelligence went where? So I'm looking at the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is looking at me. So this is what comes out. Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama la. Dalai da. Ground level. Door opens. Dalai Lama walks out. Is walking down the aisle, looking back to me. We have eye contact on his face, like, you know, like he always is. So that was one of the moments I had a chance, but I didn't grab it. Because when our emotions go up, our intelligence goes where? It goes down. So if our nervousness is up, our intelligence goes down. And so many people who have doctor degrees and MBAs, and they're so clever. I don't have any of that. But there's one thing I had for my personal development. I was hungry. I was hungry enough to do a little bit more. So if you're here in the audience, there's so many people online. Millions of people are watching this. There's some people next to you. They're a little bit more hungry to give a little bit more back to this world. And you have to ask yourself this question. Why are you doing this? And people will laugh about you. People will laugh. How many of you are self-employed or want to be self-employed? Want to do your own shit, your own thing? People will laugh at you. People will laugh at your small business as long as you make more with your small business in 1 month than others do in a year. Do you get me? Yes or yes? They will laugh at you. They will throw stones at you. People didn't understand me. My whole family didn't understand me. After 25 years in this industry, after writing 4 different books, last year in November, my parents for the first time came to an event and said, "I'm proud of you," 25 years later. But I didn't do it for them. I did it because it was in my DNA to do something. And I would like to encourage you and inspire you. If I got kicked out of kindergarten, if I got kicked out of 5 different schools, I don't have a college education. If I can do it, who can do it? Hello, if I can do it, who can do it? People will laugh at you. People will throw stones at you. People laugh at you. And you know what personal development means to me? That you build ways for people who are also eager to do more in life with the stones that other people throw at you. That's personal development. Giving it back to others so their way is not so hard than it was for you. I think that's pretty much the summary of personal development. Because there's this one day, and many of you will have figured that out already, but there's this one day in your life where the pain of playing small is growing too big. I'm saying that one more time. There's this one day of your life where the pain of playing too small is growing too big inside of you. And then there's this volcano that wants to blast out, and not everybody will like that. I have 2 children at home, Emil and Maya. They're 9 and 6. And when they were smaller, they were always afraid of the darkness. They were always afraid of ghosts. By the way, many children have that all over the world. So I'm looking with them in their bedroom. We're looking for ghosts, and we didn't find any ghosts. And that's fine. We did that every night. We did that for every night for so many years. And it's okay to help children who are afraid in the dark. You know what's not okay for me? That there are so many adults in the world who are afraid of their own light. That's the difference. A child being afraid of the darkness, I can forgive, I can help. But there are so many adults that are afraid of their own light. Would you agree, yes or yes? And if that is the case, let's start. You know, personal development starts with one word, which is no. No longer will I be taking time explaining myself. No longer will I ever give up again. No longer will I settle for anything less than which is embedded in my DNA. Did you get that? That is no. It's all about yes, and it's all about the universe, but you have to set borders for yourself. And I would like to tell you a little story that happened to me, because what I did in a moment of mental, I don't know, probably I was just mental at that moment, because I'm a speaker. I cannot speak for 5 minutes. So one of my coaches said to me, you have to do exactly the opposite to grow more. So what I did, I registered for a silent retreat in Thailand, which was one of the craziest thing I've ever done in my life, because they don't not speak for 5 minutes. You don't speak for 10 days. It's crazy. And in this monastery I went to, it's not a normal monastery. I was the only European in that monastery. And in this monastery, everybody got a job. So there were 2 other people coming to the monastery with me. One of their job was to clean the toilets of all the monks. I was like, okay, thank you. There is a universe. I didn't get that job. The other person got the job to clean all the archway and the entire monastery wall, outside and inside. I didn't get that job. I got a little note which said, massage feet, head monk, every night, 6 to midnight. And I'm reading that note, and I'm like, my nervousness got up. My intelligence went down. I haven't massaged anyone in my entire life. I'm like, excuse me, sir. The monks didn't say anything. So I'm going to my kuti. I'm sleeping on the ground. I'm getting this white dress. I'm not allowed to talk, but I'm allowed to see the master, the head of the monk, which is like the greatest guy of the entire northern part of Thailand. He's teaching all the monks in all the monasteries. So I didn't know what to do. It was my first time in a monastery. So I'm walking to the temple with my shoes on. Ooh. So I'm taking the first step going into the temple. A monk takes his leg, kicks in my knee. I'm falling on my knees. He says, you have to knee in front of the master. I said, yes, sir. So I'm crawling on the ground to the master, looking on my watch, 6 to midnight. All right, that's going to be a funny night. So I start massaging the head monk's feet. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. I didn't know I had muscles in my fingers. I didn't know how difficult it is to massage somebody. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at me on day 1. He didn't look at me on day 2. He didn't look at me on day 3. Day number 4, I'm sitting in front of him. I knew my massage technique after day number 4. I knew what he liked. I knew what he didn't like. I was the massage. I could give massage courses just for monks' feet here. I could sell them to you. He didn't look at me. On day number 4 at 7:25, and I remember that after all these days massaging, you know exactly the time. 7:25, day 4. He looks at me and he said, you can ask one question. I was like, oh, God. So I look at him and I said, so my emotions went up, my intelligence went down. I remember the Dalai Lama, but I had the question. I was like, why am I here? He looks at me and he said, that's a good question. Everybody asks same. He said, why am I here? And he says, I would like to give you an answer that you can bring back to Germany to teach it to others. And he looks at me and he said, just imagine a small story that I will tell you for that. He says, just imagine all the waters of the world in like all the 7 seas at one big field of water. It's very deep and it's very, very wide. And in this massive amount of water, there's one animal, one little turtle. And you're sitting on a little fisher boat, and you're sitting alone on this little fisher boat on this immense, massive water, liquid, which is one animal lives inside, which is a turtle. And this turtle comes up once per year to take one breath to go back down. And I look at him, I said, I can't follow. He said, wait, you have to be patient. So I look at him and I say, okay, master, what's next? He said, you're on this fisher boat, and you have this little swimming ring in front of you. And if you are lucky enough, and this turtle is around your boat, and you take the swimming ring and you throw it on the head of the turtle, the moment it goes up to take one breath, this is the moment a human gets reborn on planet Earth. So the question why you are here is because you are very, very, very lucky. So I look at him like this. I don't know if you have seen a dog that is looking into a fan, a ventilator. This is how I looked at it. I was like, I didn't get it. He said, understand. I said, no. Can you give me a different example? He said, yes, you are same yogurt. I'm like, what? He said, you like yogurt. And my emotions went up intelligence. My English went blank. I was like, what do you mean like yogurt? He said, when you go supermarket, you buy yogurt, what do you do? So I eat. No, you don't eat. You check if it's still good. And I look at him, I was like, okay, you turn upside down, you check the date, if it's still good, you're good, eat or no. He was getting emotional. And I said, so what do you mean? He said, everybody have that date. Human being don't know when expiration date. And I look at him, I was like, And he said, if people would know when the expiration date is really occurring, they would live completely different. If people would know when there's the game over time and when they have this moment to look back on their life to finally realize that everything they did was for a reason, that everything that happened to them was not against them, but everything was for them, that the universe has a greater master plan implanted in every human being on earth. But they're not allowed to say anything anymore because it was their last breath. And the moment they take their last breath, it's the moment where everything that was possible, everything that was embedded in your DNA comes out of your body and yells at you. Only you could have given birth to me, and now I have to die forever with you. So I'm sitting in front of him. I was like, oh my God. And I said, what's then? What's next? And he looks at me and he says, well, after 40 years of meditation, I think there's one question that you will be asked. And I look at him, I say, what's the question, Master? He said, well, that really depends on what you believe in. If there's God, Allah, Buddha, or just the universe. And that doesn't actually matter because it's all the same. But there's this one question that you will either read or hear. And this question is called, and how was it in heaven? And just imagine for one moment, that is the last question you hear. You can't talk anymore. Your heart is about to stop. You're looking back into your entire life where you see that you could only feel happy because that you had pain, that everything was working for you, and you get the question, and how was heaven? Because when you feel this, then you understand that you are not allowed just to go and leave planet Earth. That there's something embedded into your DNA, and if you give this to everybody else, if you understand that you don't belong to yourself but to the universe, and at the moment you're giving your light to others and not for yourself, that's the moment where you have lived. And this is something I'm carrying around since I met him, and I hope that you are feeling this as well. That you don't belong to yourself. That it's your job to serve other people, to bring this light that you have to other people, because maybe that's why we are here. The last story I would like to tell you was when I was at one of these events here. I was in an event around 5 years ago with one of my mentors that I had that helped me to build my business. I was very, very proud as a flight attendant to have written a couple of books that he helped me, because I need sometimes hard love. I need people who are sometimes even yelling at me, because otherwise I wouldn't move. I need somebody who tells me the truth. And I remember when he looked at me, he said, why don't you, what's going to be the title of your book? I said, I don't have a title. He said, what is something inside of you that you like or don't like? And I said, you know what, I don't have a title, but I can tell you one thing that makes me really angry. And I was in Thailand again. This seminar was in Thailand, and I look at him and I say, you know, there was this big commercial at the Suvarnabhumi airport, and it was for the new iPhone, and it says, unbox your phone. It was 10 times 10 meters big. And I look at it and I look at him and I say, you know, before people should unbox their phone, they should unbox their life. And that's the title of my first book. Unbox their life. It's translated in 19 different languages everywhere in the world. But I only did the book because somebody was very, very angry at me because I didn't move. And here's the moment where I moved and my emotions went up. and my intelligence went to the bottom. I'm sitting at a seminar like this one, but I wasn't that brave. I didn't sit in the first or second row. I was sitting in the last row with around 250 people in a room, this time in Vietnam. So I'm sitting in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam only to say thank you to my mentor. I wanted to thank him that due to him, I quadrupled my company. And my speaking fees went to the roof. Everything was wonderful. I thought I had it. I thought there was something that was finally going right in my life. So I'm sitting at this seminar in the last row on the last day, and finally, for some reason, my arm went like this. I haven't spoken in a seminar publicly because I'm very, very afraid. I don't know how you are. I start to sweat and everything. So I take my hand, and he said, "Okay, German, what's wrong?" So I stand up, I say, "Yes, sir." Germans are very trained to do things like this. It's really weird, but we are. So he says, "Give him a mic." So I'm taking the microphone, and he said, "So what do you want?" I said, "Sir, I would like to say thank you. I would like to thank you for the fact that I've written 2 books right now. I would like to thank you for the fact that my podcast went to the roof and that I quadrupled the money I make. I'm so happy because I made so much money." So I look at him. 250 people in the seminar look at me, and I see myself on 2 big screens, and I look at the face of my trainer. So what I thought is that he would say, "Oh, you did it so wonderful, I'm so proud of you," but he didn't say that. He turned from white to red to white, and there is this vein here at the throat, and it just started pumping and pulsing for around a minute. It felt like an hour, but it was around 1 minute. And then he looked at me and he said, "You arrogant German piece of shit." So at this moment, my emotions went very much up. My intelligence went all the way down. And I look at him. I wanted to say something. I was like, he said, "You shut the Facebook up right now." I was like, "Yes, sir." He said, "What do you do for society? How many people did you give a job to? How often do you go to schools to train children? What do you do to do good for the world? What do you do pro bono? Where is all that? Leave my room." I was so angry. I was so pissed. Only my flight attendant training over 23 years helped me not to yell, not to knock anything over. So I'm running out of this room. I'm literally running. I'm so angry. I see this wooden door. Inside of me, my second personality is smashing the door. I didn't. I opened the door, I closed the door, and I'm running, and inside of myself, I'm already in the plane heading home. There's one of the lead trainers of his company coming to me. He said, "Where do you think you are going, German?" I said, "I'm going home. That's where I'm going." He said, "What's wrong with you?" And at this moment, I couldn't even speak. How many of you have realized when your emotions go up, your language skills, especially in foreign languages, don't work that well anymore? Did you have that? I look at him, so I speak half German, half English to him, that like Jinglish. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Where I go home. That's why I go. Very expensive seminar. I say, "Thank you." He yells at me. He says, "What did he say?" Okay, I will tell you what he say. He say, how many people I give jobs to, or where I go to school. What do you think he is? What do I do pro bono? And he looks at me and he looks into my eyes and he says, "And? Is he right?" And this is the moment I realized that he was right. I did it for a long term for myself. I didn't understand calming management. I didn't understand that I have to plant seeds so other people can one day sit under the tree I planted. Personal development for me is that my father, who died this year in the age of 84, that one of the last things he did is he planted a seed for a tree. He bought trees. He will never sit under that tree. But this is personal development for me. Contribute ourselves to the big goal for others and for our planet. And this is one of the moments of my life where I realized that my dad, and this mentor in Taiwan and in Vietnam and everywhere I flew to, they were right. And sometimes there's this moment where your family will criticize you and no one in your surrounding will understand where you are going. How many of you have had that happen? That you said to your friends, "Well, could you come to Mindvalley with me? You have to see what they're talking about. You have to listen how they speak." But they don't, and it makes you sad. So personal development is to understand that for a certain period of your life, you will be alone. But personal development also means to go back to your friends once you reach something, and to give them your hand and to help them to also go the way. It's not about being enlightened. It's not to be better. It's about always to stay a humble human being. But sometimes people will criticize you so much. And I will tell you one sentence now, which will maybe not be liked by everybody in the audience, but I will say it anyway. Would you like to hear it? It's my summary of personal development, and it's also when I talk to people and who don't understand what I do, I always say, respect me if you love me. I had that with my family so often, but what I also say is that bees, bees, they don't talk to flies and explaining them that honey tastes better than shit. Let that sink in for a moment. Bees don't waste their time talking to flies, explaining that honey tastes better than shit. Let them live how they live. Make sense? Yes or yes? Okay, good. Because as a matter of fact, not everybody will understand everything you do. Here's my last story for you. I was at an event in Thailand, another one, where I met my best friend. My best friend, her name is Apailuk Tantantra Bandit Chandaram. We call her just to make it easier for the story. What's her name, please? Is one of the most courageous, one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. And I met her on a seminar like this. We were both on a journey, and we didn't have it happening. The trainer in the front of the room, a seminar like this, said, we are all just imagine, we are all like popcorn. We are all in a big pan, and we have hot oil in it, and we just make it hotter and hotter, and we make it less comfortable for you. So some of you will what? Plop. Some of you will plop, and you will see other people plopping, not popping, plopping. So you're going to see them plopping, and it will encourage you to do more and better. But it didn't happen to A or me. We're sitting next to each other. We were chatting, and nothing happened. Didn't happen anything for the first day, second day, third day. That must be something in the universe. Until the fourth day, same with the monk. Nothing happened. So I'm sitting next to A, and we are at this seminar. It's for public speakers that are sharing their story. And I'm looking into her eyes. And at this moment, I see that her eyes changed. She didn't look like a normal human being anymore. She had laser pointer in her eyes. I didn't know what was really happening, but she started shaking. I've never seen somebody plopping right next to me. She looks at me and she said, I have to say something. There's something with this Thai accent in my life. It's coming back and back. I don't know why that is. And she's sitting next to me, and she said, I want to say it publicly. I want to say it loud. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so she stands up. The trainer says, stand up. So she stands up. There's this big light coming towards her, half on me. My emotions go up, intelligence goes down. I say, sit yourself down, which is completely wrong English, but I couldn't speak it at this moment. And she shares her story. She says in front of the room, she says that she cannot handle it anymore, that in Thailand so many women are treated by men only to look good, only to be quiet in an office building. And she said, this time is over. It's enough is enough, she said. She says, I'm living in this small apartment in Bangkok where the BTS is running up and down in front of my window, and I only see KFC and McDonald's commercial. My face should be on the train. She was talking and talking. I was like, oh my God. And she shared her vision. She said that she wants to be a speaker, and that one day she will be hosting a big TV series in Thailand. She was speaking, and then she knocked against my knee and she said, now you say something. I said, no. She said, you stand up, say something. There was another moment in my life where somebody else told me to do the jump. I'm a student just like you, but it's a very big honor to be in the presence of other students here in this room. And here's what I would like to tell you with this story. You don't even have to be the one who is plopping, but you are in the presence of somebody who will. So if I was you, I would connect myself with as many people as I can. Have a WhatsApp group, have a tribe, which you already have. Are you a tribe? Yes or yes? Friends and tribe. Because there is this moment where you can't do it alone. Last year in September, I'm standing on a stage and I didn't know what to say anymore. I think I was too much on stages, and one other speaker actually pretty much did the same speech that I wanted to do before I went on. So I'm texting Air in Thailand. I said, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. You know what she wrote back? She wrote back, you are popcorn, right as I am, and you plopped as I did. And sometimes in the movie Avatar, you are the tree, and sometimes you are the avatar. You decide, just let it flow. Was the best speech I ever had. I just didn't prepare it at all. I just went on because I was in the presence of Air again. And you are in the presence of great leaders, of the Dalai Lama, of Air, of my grandmother, and all the other great speakers at Mindvalley. It was a very big pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you very much.